Hello, and welcome to the panel where we take a look at graphic novels and talk about their story, art, and everything in between. Halloween's coming up, so it's time to read something scary. And Dark Ride by Joshua Williamson and ANDREI Bressman is perfect. Imagine a horror Disneyland run by an aging father and his two squabbling children. Sounds like family fun until deaths start happening in the park. Dun dun dun. So grab your security blanket and keep the lights on while we find out what's really going on. And joining me today, we have some amazing guests. Starting off with from DST Unboxed and Previews World Toy Chest, host Natasha, aka Cannon Doll X.
Hey everybody, get ready. It's a dark one.
And then we've also got the upgraded from Duchess to Queen of Free Comic Book Day, Ashton Greenwood.
What's up, guys? I'm excited to be here. This is weird. This is a weird book.
And our ever quick with the photos producer, Johnny Rose.
Hey, howdy, hey. I'm stealing Ashton's tagline.
I'm so excited to see y'all again.
Yay.
So do you guys have any Halloween plans?
I mean, I have kids, so trick-or-treating.
Yeah.
Like I have Scout Halloween costume thing this week and then actual Halloween next week. So.
Yeah, I think I have like 4 or 5 different Halloween events with the 8-year-old.
Dang.
Oh, wow. That's pretty active. Do they still do like the neighborhood ones, or is it the like trunk or treating?
Both.
They do both. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Except
We're
our
not
neighborhood
doing
sucks, so we're going to different neighborhood.
Oh, God.
Oh, go to the better neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yes.
With the full-size candy bars, yeah.
Nice. Well, we
What
don't
have
do that,
you-
but we go around ours, and because my kids have friends in the neighborhood, so we generally try to meet up and then pass out like a million glow sticks where everybody is illuminated, and then go. And it's very exhausting because our neighborhood is a lot of hills. There's not a really lot of flat ground, so it's definitely a workout by the end of the night. You earn the candy.
I've been to your neighborhood. You have like a little mini streets of San Francisco. How many hills are in your area?
Yeah.
Good God.
Even just driving to my house, you have to go up a hill.
What about you, Ashton? What are you doing for Halloween?
I have a friend who is one of those houses in the neighborhood that like goes all out, is like insanely decorated, and like him and his family dress up and scare kids. And he asked me if I wanted to go scare children this year. And I was like, yeah, I do.
Yes. My goal is to be that neighbor. I'm trying. I bought like a pop-up scare this year, and I've got like
Nice.
pop-up spiders. So like I'm excited to make a little pathway of doom.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is my goals, is to be your neighbor.
We have one of those in our neighborhood too, and it's awesome. Every year we like can't wait to see what they do, because I swear they upgrade. They just add every year, and their whole yard is just covered in stuff. And then the walkway, and somebody usually sitting at like the end of the driveway, so you have to walk up it to get to it. And there's usually something creepy, and they're really nice too. They can see if the kid's super freaked out, they'll like click a button and turn off some of the stuff. But yeah, it's really nice.
We do have some people checking in from our viewers. We have Ubaldo, long time no see.
What's
Hello,
up,
everybody.
Ubaldo?
He's saying also love the sweater. Mia sweater, that is.
Oh, yeah.
Very festive. Brian Spencer Cosplay also saying cute sweater. So
Oh,
we have that.
yay.
And Ubaldo saying awesome, the team is back. Well, thank you for having
Yay.
us. It's good to be back. And as usual, panel style, we generally start the new season around Halloween. So we have a spooky book to talk about.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. And let's get started on that. So
Yes.
let's go into a summary of the plot. So for this book, for Dark Ride, you have Arthur Dante, who's a twisted Walt Disney, who created a year-round Halloween Horror Nights amusement park called Devilland. When his two children, Samhain and Halloween, show up at the park, strange things start happening. Someone's gone missing, but what really happens in the park after the sun goes down? And that's what we're going to find out. So my first question is, are all of you horror fans?
Yes.
Within reason, I don't care for body horror. I think it's a little bit of a cheap shot.
Okay.
Or in general,
So
I like
none of like the Eli Roth stuff.
Yeah.
Saw is about as far as I'll go.
Oh, some of those later
That
ones.
feels unnecessary.
Sounds
That
pretty-
feels
yeah.
indulgent, like overly
Yeah.
self-indulgent.
Yeah, I think at the end they were just like, "What can we do next?"
Yeah.
So now, what were your thoughts on going into this novel, like knowing nothing about it? And I'm gonna pick on Natasha first.
Well, when Johnny gave this to us, he did say it's kind of like a, it's about this guy and this thing happens, and then he makes a roller coaster, scary park thing, and so that was the only synopsis. He tried to keep it very limited to me. Probably very bad words. He was probably a lot more descriptive than that. But I was like, oh, that sounds twisted and interesting. And sure enough, I mean, by page 2, you're already like, okay, we're right into this. Okay, this is happening. All right, this is dark.
I did say it was definitely not kid friendly.
No, because I went camping last weekend with my kids, and I was like, "Oh, good, I'll take the book with me so I can read it." And he was like, "This is not kid friendly."
No.
I was like, "Well, don't worry, they're not going to read it. I'm going to read it." But I ended up like tucking it so far in our camping stuff that I ended up just reading it when we got back from camping, which is probably a better thing.
That's probably a good idea. Like,
Yeah.
don't even have it where it can be like found, right?
No. Some of the imagery would definitely not be great for the kids to see.
What about you, Ashton?
Yeah, similar experience to Natasha. Johnny was like, we're gonna read this book. It's about a horror themed amusement park. I was like slightly familiar with the title, like had heard of it before and knew it was rated mature. So I was like, I wonder how far we're gonna go with that rating. And they go all the way with it. Like all the way, man. Immediately too, like you said, Natasha, like we're 4 pages in, we're like doing murder already.
Right, yeah.
Doing murder. Now, Johnny, did you know about this before? Because I know you had like something else that you were thinking about doing for the show, but you were like, no, scrap that. I want to find something else. So did you know how horrible this was when you gave it to us?
Slightly.
Horrible in a good way, just to be clear.
Yeah.
I did pick up issue 1 of this when it first came out, and I loved it because I am a big theme park fan. And I am relatively a good horror fan, so I thought, it's like chocolate and peanut butter, 2 great tastes that taste great together. So why not? I didn't get a chance to read it all the way through, but originally we were going to talk about a horror manga, but I couldn't really find images for that online to really put onto this stream, and we want people at home to kind of see what the book is like. So that's why I pivoted to this, and I'm glad I did because this was actually my pick. Ashton knows this for the Halloween Comic Fest website. My pick of a favorite horror thing to the people should go read, and one of my quotes in there was that this book goes harder than it needs to.
It does.
It really does. So I'm excited to read it, to have read it. I'm excited to talk about it with everyone here too.
So that was pre-planned. Okay. Now you know. Beware of what Johnny gives us. Okay. Would any of you ever actually? Whoa, my mouth is not working. Would any of you actually go to Devilland?
No, hell no.
I mean, not after reading this. Like, we kind of know
before.
What happens there.
If you didn't know about like the murders.
Well, yeah. I mean, like before the murders. Yeah, because I mean, I was just talking today about how much I miss Not Scary Farm. I'm from California originally, and Not Scary Farm is amazing. So is the Universal City, like the studio scare stuff. I haven't been to anything on the East Coast yet, but it's like immersive. You're inside a giant horror movie. You're like, suddenly a monster pops out of here, it slides over there, or like you get to go through these mazes and experience these different themes. Like I remember one year I went, and it was the pivotal nerddom for me because I'm a huge Nightmare on Elm Street fan, and they had a Freddy's house. They had like a Freddy house themed one, and it was like I was like not scared at all. I was like, oh, it's Freddy. Oh, oh, right, you know, but if it was this place, they'd probably all murder me. So there's that.
Well, I mean, to Mia's point, what she said earlier, it is like a year-round Halloween Horror Nights. And for those who don't know, Universal Studios puts on this event, you know, around October called Halloween Horror Nights, and they just basically bring out a bunch of scare actors all throughout the park, similar to Not Scary Farm. But yeah, it makes me kind of like take a second look at not that, but like some of the haunted houses around our area. Like I know this is up in our area, but up in Pennsylvania, like there's a haunted area called Field of Screams that I've been to before, which is really creepy. And now I'm like, this kind of hits different now.
Now you're wondering if that's really a mannequin?
Or is it? I don't know.
For the record, I would not attend this amusement park at all. At all. 2 reasons. Number 1, back of the book, there's a map. They've made out like a map that's got creasing in it too. Like if you go to Hershey Park, whatever amusement park, it tells you the name of all the rides and where they're located. Just want to point 3 out that are immediate no-go. Catacombs Crash, hard pass. If you've seen that movie As Above, So Below, couldn't pay me to do anything related to catacombs. Number 2, Murder Mountain. Why would I want to get murdered? Why would I want to simulate murder? Number 3, War is Hell. Let's romanticize war and like simulate getting bombed. That sounds horrible to me. I don't want to do any of that. And also at the beginning of this book, it's a well-known fact that like there's all kinds of weird stuff that happen at Devilland. So that partnered with these crazy rides, it's a no-go for me.
And I'd like to point out one more thing. They mentioned this a little bit, but I don't think they really talk about it, or like you don't really picture it because you're just so immersed in the story. But is outside Las Vegas, how hot and gross and like
true
and heat crazy would you even feel in the Devilland on top of all of the Devilland stuff happening? Like, I'm sorry, I don't want to go to an amusement park that's in hell.
It's just
right?
It's just good theming.
Yeah.
So Ashton's the only one of us that would actually survive. She'd be the smart person in the horror movie that's like, I'm not going.
Yeah. She walks outside, sees somebody down the street, turns around and goes, nope.
Oh, man, we're all doomed. But let's go into talking about why we're doomed by digging into the story. Joshua Williamson is a New York Times bestselling author who lives in Portland, Oregon, which is already kind of weird in and of itself. And he's written for nearly every comic book publisher, but is known for his long-lasting run on The Flash. But he's also written for Image Comics, including NAILBITER, BIRTHRIGHT, Ghosted, and Dark Ride. And now he's writing Superman and G.I. Joe. All right. So there are the two kids. So you've got Arthur Dante, who is like the Walt Disney, and then you've got his like 2 kids. And you got Samhain, which is the Gaelic word for Halloween. You got Halloween. Which one do you like better? Let's go, Johnny.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I like first of all, learned that it's not pronounced Samhain. You know, learn something new by reading this book. But I ended up liking him the most, but it was really his character kind of came off as what I thought was going to be like one of these like, you know, corporate a-holes. It was like, you know, he's young and he's had everything handed to him, and he's not going to be, you know, very friendly. I thought he was going to tie into that stereotypical like jock who tries to be like friendly to the nerdy guy and then publicly embarrasses him. Like I thought that was what was going to happen here in this scene with Owen. But the more you read through the book, the more that you realize like he just really wants what's best for his family. Like he's not like that bad of a person. And when things start going weird within the park, he actually actively wants to like find out what's going on and like protect the people that he loves from the bad things that are happening. So that's why I kind of gravitated towards him.
All right. What about you, Natasha?
Same. And also his parent. So like there's some connection there. And you can see like he's just a guy that really wants to, he's really looking for validation from his dad. Really. despite everything that his dad clearly puts him through, has put him through, everything else that the media puts him through. Like he wants to be successful in his dad's eyes. Like he says, the park, he's got to do the park, did this, that, and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, like that's really what he's searching for. Is he's just searching for that validation, and he's also just trying to also do right by his daughter and just the family in general, like keeping the legacy and stuff like that. And while the sister is not like that.
What about you, Ashton?
I thought they both kind of sucked, to be perfectly honest.
Ashton coming in strong.
To Natasha's point, Sam is more involved. He's more interested in the health and success of the park and the validation from his father. I think the daddy issues are rampant in both of them. But I think the thing that kind of made Sam problematic to me is he's just as self-involved as Halloween is. It's just manifesting differently. So for Halloween, like that manifests as being a porn star and being like traditionally famous and Hollywood famous and doing things that matter to her. And for him, it manifests as being incredibly successful at the park and being the head honcho. And that happens and it comes at the detriment of his family life and how involved he is with his own child and his ex-wife. So I think, yeah, he's the better of the two, but they're both messy. They're both problematic.
No, that's fair.
That's true. But
Am
me
I the
did
only
say
one
pick
that
one.
liked Halloween? I feel like I'm the only one that liked Halloween. Like like I feel like if she took over the park, it would just kind of like step that thing up like way too much.
I disagree. I feel like it would implode in a month.
That is true too. So now in the story, you have Arthur who actually basically sold his soul to get, the ability to create this land, but now it's going to get passed on. What do you think is going to be this deal that maybe these kids are going to have to make with the devil? Like, do you think it's going to be the same thing? Do you think now it's going to have to ramp up? Like,
well, to be
we're going to
fair,
pick on Ashton. Oh,
sorry.
Okay. I think it's definitely going to ramp up. I love the whole like sell your soul to the devil thing. That's one of my like favorite themes anytime it shows up in a story because it's kind of executed differently every time. And I love the way they do it here. And the whole thing with like selling your soul to the devil for success is the devil always comes to collect. And you kind of see that starting to happen in this book. And so when Arthur inevitably passes and then passes his dynasty onto whatever kid, like the whole thing is the devil's going to want to collect, which means he's going to want to up the ante because he's already collected on whatever Arthur owes him. So the kids are going to owe him something different and it's going to be more. Like it just becomes this snowballing thing.
Mia, you're muted.
All right. What do you think about next, Natasha? Sorry about that.
Well, I feel like the devil's already trying to gear towards Sam a little bit because he got his daughter to cut herself up, and that's the blood sacrifice right there. Not all of the blood, but certainly a start. And with the devil, that's probably only just the start. So, I don't know. Like soon as the kid came on the scene, I personally got nervous.
Yeah.
Because of everything leading up to it already. And then I was like, oh, no. Not the kids. Please don't bring the kids into this. And then a nightmare happened. That's a personal nightmare for me because there's sharp things everywhere. But like, yeah, it's very heavy. It's very worrisome. I almost feel like because Sam is so dedicated to the park already and things like that, like that his sacrifice would just be a little more heart-wrenching. Whereas if it was Halloween, I feel that would be pulled into the deal. I feel like for her, it would almost be that entertainer voyeurism thing that would be exploited so hard to the point where she, it's always flashing lights and it's always press and it's always, it's that overwhelming, overstimulated, like that would almost be like her torture of that thing that she wants so much, but then it's like magnified and, and that kind of thing. So, I mean, as far as who would get picked, but I definitely agree it'd be a lot more than a dead wife in the middle of the desert. So
That's a great thought, Natasha. I love that. That like whether it's Sam or Halloween, whatever their particular thing is, it's good. Like that, it's going to be a hell of their own making. I think that's a great idea. That like they get what they want,
but it's
it's what you want, but also not what you want in a really terrible way. That's so smart.
It's like one of those, you know, when you ask the genie for your wishes and you say like, I want to be invincible or whatever, but it's like, you know, like all the kind of weird stuff that they add on to it. That's like, no, wait, that's not what I wanted. Or, you know, like things like that.
I never thought about it in the terms of like the little girl being a blood sacrifice. Cause it's very obvious, like Halloween is like going into that territory, but I didn't see it as like, you know, Sam doing the same thing. So that's a really interesting concept. Because the whole family legacy is really weird. Like, and part of it is like in the book we see Arthur kind of like on the rides and in places, and he's kind of ghost-like. What are y'all thoughts on that? And I'm gonna start with Johnny.
I love the effect because I mean, you ride and first of all, there's going to be a lot of Disney references, obviously, but like you ride the Haunted Mansion at Disney World, and it puts you like into a picture with like some of the hitchhiking ghosts and whatnot. So I love this kind of nod to that. It is creepy because like right after this says that the family who was in this photo died in a car wreck on the way home or whatever. So, I mean, my thought the whole time is that Arthur Dante has been basically collecting souls for the devil, which he has made the deal with. So I don't know how, like, what the ultimate goal is. If there's like, again, I mean, this ties back to the last question. Like, is it really just around Arthur? Or is it going to be passed on to the kids? Like, I'm not sure. I don't know which way it's going to go, but that's why it's hard for me to kind of decide. But I don't know if there's anything specific about this. I think it's just an interesting nod to the theme parks in real life.
That's an interesting idea. What about you, Ashton? What do you think? What do you think this mystery Arthur thing is?
Yeah, I don't know entirely. I don't know that I've entirely connected these two thoughts yet, but I'm going to share them anyway. Which is, I think there's something going on between the fact that he shows up in the park as like this ghostly figure and is almost like haunting his own park, despite not being dead, and the multiple references to the fact that he's incredibly old. Theo, the YouTuber, mentions at one point that he's pushing 100. They never really show you his like corporeal form, his physical body. So I think those two things are involved with each other or holding hands in some way. I'm not totally sure yet, but I think it's interesting that those two topics get repeated throughout only 4 issues of the book.
That's a good point. Good point. Natasha?
I agree. And I believe that Arthur is not really Arthur and that he died some time ago, but they're still keeping his body and essence and kind of whatever going to keep feeding the devil these souls and to keep feeding this and to keep feeding this manipulation of the children of Arthur so he can keep that machine moving. That's my thought.
Yeah, I had that same thought that like he was dead. He's been dead. Like this is like zombie Arthur or something, you know?
Yeah. Like very Bates Motel kind of thing.
Oh, there you go. I didn't even think about it that way.
Because he's always like, except for one scene, I think we do see him touching a machine or whatever. But again, look at the mascots, which aren't always filled with people, we find out. So who knows who's actually in the body? That's my thought. Or the devil's just keeping him alive for a long time. So again, he can still continue the manipulation, the machine to run. But those creepy monsters and the thing at the end. And I don't know, like, I feel like out of all of this, even though, they both suck, both kids suck, but like Sam, I feel, is more innocent in the whole situation than Halloween is. Like, there's a reason Daddy keeps doing whatever she wants or whatever, because she's doing whatever Daddy wants. That sounded weird. Like, right.
We have our soundbite for social media. Awesome.
You're welcome.
Oh my god, that was great.
Do you know what I mean, though? Killing people and stuff.
Johnny, any thoughts?
The one thought I kind of want to touch on is not really related to the question, but I thought overall in terms of the story, there's a lot of like twists and turns, and like it goes in directions that you don't really expect it to. Like from the very beginning, you're introduced to this character. I think his name was Owen. He's a super fan. He's like knows all about the parks. He's like, oh, you know, this was originally behind Cannibal Cafe, but they moved 1990. They moved it because people kept finding whatever. So I love that because, you know, there is like a slew of people out there who just love theme parks and will like tell you like every single little, you know, detail about them, and like this was built here and this was built there and this person designed this ride. But I really got attached to him, which I guess I shouldn't have, because because he pulls a full-on Janet Leigh from Psycho and is there for the first part of it, but then dies. Spoilers, sorry. And the story just kind of goes in a separate way, and everything else is kind of like that. I mean, his death is really just kind of the impetus, the jumping off point for the rest of the story, like what's actually going to happen. And then it shifts over into Sam and Halloween. So I really like that. And I think there's a bunch of other twists and turns that kind of like you think it's going to go one way and it actually like kind of goes a different way.
Yeah, no, I thought he was going to be the main character in the beginning. I was like, oh, okay, here's this like Owen kid. This is just like me. Like I'd be this guy. Oh God, no. Because I don't think I was expecting, like, you know, when he kind of goes into the ride and then how they find him. I feel we're like two different things.
Yeah.
Like, did anyone have any thoughts on, like, kind of how he was offed?
Yeah, I mean, for me, when I was reading it, sorry you didn't ask.
Yeah,
No, I was hoping someone was going to jump in. Go for it.
When I was reading it and it got to the point, and oh, look, I opened right to him walking in. Doesn't this give you very Beetlejuice vibes too, by the way?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like looking at it, I was like, okay, I was like, whoa, it's jumping right to parents' death, and then this, and then, you know, all of a sudden, you know, he's whatever happens, and then you're just like, oh, okay, wait, huh? If he did that, like, huh? Like, it was definitely it's puzzling, but at the same time, you're like, oh, is he now a part of it? Is he now like? I was like trying to piece it together, and then when you like really see what happened to him, it's spoilers. You're like, oh, that's in his body.
That looks good. That's
yeah.
fun.
I was like, he's getting ripped apart. Okay, cool. And then you see like the imagery and the drawings, and you're like, oh my God, this is how. So they make the little sacrifice, and then Arthur is granted inspiration. Like,
right.
Ooh, it's just a direct connect right there. All right, cool.
Definitely also seemed like there's some element of like the alluring nature of horror, and maybe like being seduced by the dark side. Sorry for the Star Wars reference, but
don't ever be sorry for a Star Wars
reference. Never.
There definitely seems like with Owen and then with the daughter Autumn, there's some element of like doing something you otherwise would because it seemed like it was appealing. Like with Owen and then again with the daughter, they're kind of spoken to by the devil, Danny D. Evil, whatever you want to think it is, to enter to the ride, to help the father come up with a new idea. And it's always presented to them like it's sexy almost, and then the outcome is terrible. So I think there's an interesting theme there with like how something really horrible can be positioned as something really glamorous.
Very true.
Definitely.
By the
think
way,
for
we do have a bunch of comments. I just want to get to that.
let's do
I'm
it.
kind of falling behind. So Balda said earlier, it's a new meaning to a roller coaster story.
Well,
We were talking about how creepy it would be to go there. It says especially when they turn off the main lights in the theme.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no.
The Crantastic says they got the Dark Ride variant cover, which, by the way, each of these issues when they came out had a different Disney movie poster inspired version of these characters.
Really?
Oh,
Yes.
that's cool.
Oh wow.
Yes, I
Alright,
did a little bit more research online, and they've got like a
Mhm.
Dark Ride for like Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin and like, all that kind of. So each of the issues, I think 1 through 12, like most
Awesome.
of them, if not all of them, had a Disney-ified version of Dark Ride characters on it. So
Okay, well now I need them all.
Cool. I know.
the Crantastic always says he bought it because of movie speculation about Dark Ride. Oh, that'd be awesome! I can actually see this turning into a movie.
Wow. Yeah.
Or if not a movie, but then like a short series or something like that. Maybe
Oh, series would be
Yeah.
great.
six or 8 episode series on Netflix or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
He says a Faust-like modern day story will make a good Netflix show for sure.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Fantastic. Again, ghostly figure in the park is a classic theme, and yes, I think you're onto something. Another astute observation. I think it was talking about the Bates Motel because
Oh.
yeah. Has anyone actually seen Psycho? I'm assuming most people. Ashton.
Tasha's face.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, I just wasn't sure if anyone got the Janet Leigh reference.
Yeah.
Huge fan of Bates Motel remake Netflix show from like 10 years ago. I never saw that.
Oh,
I did.
Pretty good.
I did unfortunately see the Vince Vaughn remake, which was
unfortunate.
yeah, unfortunate. That is a good word.
I got to take a picture in front of the house, and
Nice.
I'm on the stoop of the motel.
Universal
Very
Studios.
Yeah, during the Haunted Nights thing, my friend took me before I left from California, and we got to like the tour took you like on the little cement pathway in front of all the rooms,
Nice.
and I was of course nerding out. They're like, "Ma'am, you have to go."
but I live here now.
Yeah.
Nothing. That's it for comments. I just wanted to get us caught up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, one of the things that I found shocking was the way that they found him. Like it looks like a suicide, right? So it's just kind of like, is this how they're like disguising all the things? And it's like car accidents. And now I'm just like, is every accident at a park like some like cover?
Well, that's what they're definitely implying too. Like,
Yeah.
oh, these people, they make it. Well, I'm not going to say that this theory stuff was Disney. But you know, they make it to where it looks like nothing happened in the park, but it's just outside the park that this happened. Or
Oh yeah,
just
no, I know
over
what you're talking about.
Yeah. You know, on which part of the land counts as the park versus not the park, and
Mhm.
you know, and all that kind of. And then it just makes me think like a lot of the stuff when you're like, after I read this, I kind of went back through and I was like looking at when they're going through some of these rides and just walking around the park and stuff like that. Like I'm wondering, is that a statue? Is that animatronics? Is that an actual person? Like,
Or is it both?
super, yeah, or is it both?
Yeah, I think you're onto something there too. And that's kind of like the deal with the mascots that they start to kind of set up at the very end.
Mm-hmm.
Is like, to anyone who knows too much or is problematic or might create controversy for the park is just
Mhm.
like,
Hey, guess what? Now you're part of it.
gotten rid of. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think maybe the YouTuber's next.
Who's
I'm kind
already-
of like hoping that maybe the YouTuber goes because he's super annoying.
Oh,
We
he's
read to
totally
the end.
in that costume.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he did. Sorry, I completely
Yeah.
forgot about that. Yeah, holy crap. Okay, yeah. So
So
yes, I forgot about that. He did.
covering up the
Very
bottom
good.
part.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
we've talked a lot
terrifying.
about the plot. Let's go ahead and start moving into how the art works into that.
Yes.
So Andrei Bressman is a Brazilian artist and creator of Birthright and Dark Ride. He's also worked on such books as Batman, Green Lantern, Swamp Thing, Justice League, Suicide Squad, G.I. Joe, like you name it. And he's also worked with Marvel doing covers for Ghost Rider and Aliens. His 2 creator-owned hit series, Birthright and Dark Ride, were produced with his longtime collaborator, Joshua Williamson, which, honestly, they do such a good job working together. So, what did y'all think of, like, the art along with the story? I'm going to pick on Ashton first.
So one of the things I thought was most interesting about the art, and I was very excited to say this, is you guys might disagree. It felt kind of cartoony to me. Which I actually thought worked perfectly because the art is being cartoony opposite of the subject matter. And it felt kind of like that approach doubled down on everything and made it a lot creepier. So I liked it. I felt like the art served the book well, and I felt like it enhanced the messaging and enhanced the horror by not being so overt with the way they tackled the art.
I like that. What about you, Natasha?
I agree. That was actually something that I was going to say. And I loved like the coloration of everything too. It's like super bright and fun, but if you really look in the background, like there's creepy stuff going on, and they got so much into each panel. Like there's so much detail in each panel. Like you kind of do need to read it and then go back and like really like, I mean, I found myself on that page that you're showing now that I have open too, is I was like reading it and then I'm like, really just absorbing everything that's going on there. Like there's feet hanging in there, there's you know, zombies or all this stuff. And then I really enjoyed the beginning of the book of how it's all black and white, and then you know the devil starts talking and it's red. You know, you're getting your little pop of color there, and it's like very, and the beginning too, it's very desolate. You only get little hints of stuff in the very couple first pages when you kind of learn Arthur's obsession, but then then it's kind of bleak and open, and then, oh, bright sunshine, we're at a park again, you know? And I definitely agree that the way that the style is done, it's very, very poppy, very happy, very whatever, but also very contrast to the subject matter. Absolutely. Agree.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, I feel like if they had gone with a different kind of art style, more like, for instance, let me just put this out there. Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. It's not as graphic. Like the lines are not as like thick with like the outlines of the characters, and like to Ashton's point, this isn't as cartoony as like that would be. But I think for a comic that deals with part of it being a theme park, you kind of have to go with the more graphic element with the hard lines. You want it to be purposely like kind of cartoony to kind of tie into that family friendly atmosphere, but like again the contrast of that feel versus the horror of what's actually happening inside the park, it's a very stark contrast. So I think that contrast makes it more unsettling and unnerving.
Yeah, I think if you had like rough lines, kind of like on like Preacher, right? I think it would be too much overkill. I feel like this has got that like Five Nights of Freddy kind of feel to it.
Oh yeah.
Where it's kind of like, oh, this might be a kid's thing. Oh no, it's not at all.
Kidding.
It's definitely not. Now, was there a moment, like an art moment in the book where it just got to you? Like mine was the way that Owen was found, where he was just kind of like hung. That was just like, oh God, okay, was not, with everything that I'd seen before, I wasn't expecting that to be the way that it was, you know, his body was. What about you guys? Did anyone have like a specific moment in the book where the art just got to you? Ashton is nodding, so yeah.
Oh yeah, and it kind of goes hand in hand with what you said. When Summer has that like feels like Owen is talking to her, and then has that vision of him, the way he looks when she sees him, and the no arms and the like protruding entrails and the whole thing, I was like, ugh, and it's a full page. I was like, oh, it's so detailed. I don't like this. It definitely was one of those pieces of art that like immediately like got my hackles up. Like I had a physical reaction to seeing that.
What about you, Johnny?
Oh, it's so hard for me to like pick because I mean, like to Ashton's point, like the splash pages that they utilized are really, really well done. I like this piece of art when all of the mascots from across the park, or all like the character actors, whatever you want to call them, are kind of bowing down before Sam, like he's like their god, or they're worshiping him, whatever. I'm trying to find another piece of art here. I think a lot of like the big pieces of art where it's taking the whole page is like I said, the splash page is this part where it's like underground, like the demonic like lava flowing down there. And there is one particular piece of art, and I'm sure Natasha will know which one I'm talking about, and I'm not going to show it, but it's just when something happens to the daughter, what that kind of, I mean, as a father, and I'm sure Natasha could say as a mother, it's like that kind of feeling, like when you see something happening to a kid, like a little kid, even though it's like a graphic novel, it's not real, but just like the thought of something like that, it was a visceral reaction. It was like, oh, this is actually making me a little bit more uneasy than I expected to be reading this book. And that's why I said at the beginning that this book goes a little harder than it was necessary for it to. But that's the part where it really made me realize, like, oh, there's bad things at work here.
I almost closed the book and stopped reading.
Oh, yeah.
At that part, yeah. Like I have a little about that size, and I hit a little too close. But I'm going to change subject. So a lot of those images are all horrible for me, but the one that really made me, besides the parent uncomfortable, just grossed out uncomfortable and knowing what was about to happen, was this one.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That.
The teeth helmet.
Y'all reminded me of that.
That, and then just the munch. I just could imagine the sound, and
spoilers.
I can't stand hearing people eat anyway. Let it alone to this magnitude, and the fact that where this was going, I was like, and I was like, okay, but I could feel I'm almost at the end of the book here. I'm gonna keep going. And that
was an intense one.
That one for me, like, made me nauseous. So good job.
Yeah, I don't even know how I forgot about that whole part of the book until you mentioned that. Because the thing with the teeth, oh no, it's like a giant tapeworm or something.
And the fact that you just add the little munch, just like a little bit here, and then munch, like munch, like thank you. Like it's still you're reading the dialogue and then just hearing the munch.
It's just like a chainsaw of teeth, is what I imagine that sounds like.
Yeah. Terrible.
But by the way, Ashton Troy would have hated that image, because I'm sure that looks like that lamprey fish that he's always like, deathly afraid of.
I thought that same exact thing when I got to that page. I was like, good thing Troy's not around for this one, because that thing.
Oh no. Oh God, that is horrifying. All right.
Yeah.
Let's go and talk about kind of our overall final thoughts on the book. What do you think? And we're going to start with Johnny. Overall, as the one who gave us this book, this crazy book. What are your thoughts?
Now I feel bad. I feel
Take responsibility.
I feel guilty for just like mentally destroying each of you. But no, I mean, all that aside, I really like the book. I think it is the spooky season. Halloween's just around the corner. I mean, one of the characters in this book's name is Halloween, so I think this is a great book to pick up, especially for this time of year. If you love theme parks, if you love horror, then this is what you want to be reading. So it covers issues 1 through 4. So I believe it was a 12-issue run. So there should be 2 more books. Have not read the other ones yet. I'm going to pick up those as soon as they're available. I'm pretty sure 2 is available. I'm not sure if 3 is, but fun read, albeit pretty disturbing.
Yeah.
What about you, Natasha?
I totally enjoyed it. I mean, I love the horror genre. I was just hosting the Fright Reads Book Fest, which is all like horror movie or horror stories and all that kind of stuff. And so I was like I was ready. I was ready for this book, but then also totally not ready. the images, the story. The story definitely, it's well written. It definitely sucks you in. It gives you this murder mystery feel tied up with the horror. It's very, very good. That, like we talked about, the art is fantastic. I highly recommend this book. I told my oldest that they should read this because obviously the two younger kids, nope. But I overall, it's good. It's good.
All right, and Ashton, as our voice of someone who's not a big horror fan,
Our voice of reason.
What are your,
Yeah.
yeah, the one survivor.
Logic.
What are your thoughts?
I liked it. I thought it very much scratched the itch of like Halloween. It's creepy and unsettling without kind of venturing into cheap thrills. And even though there is some gorier panels, I don't think it goes all the way into like just being like cheap gore for the sake of it. I think it kind of stays on target, which is really successful. I will say, I think my biggest hang up with it though was it was a lot of exposition. Like all 4 issues in this trade are exposition and world building and explaining the lore, which is good. That's important. But I would have liked to have seen a little more forward progress by 4 issues of a story, especially if it's a mini series. I feel like it was just a lot of questions and almost no answers. But other than that, I think you can still enjoy it for what it is and not get, too stuck on that.
We have Brian Spencer Cosplay saying the art is amazing, great for a horror comic. And also said the inside of the helmet reminds him of the Sarlacc pit.
I was thinking that too.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very true. So it
He
seems like
digested for
everyone...
1,000 years. Sorry.
It seems like everyone liked it, but what are some suggested readings for other people that liked this series? Natasha, I believe you had one that you were talking about earlier.
I did. It's from Boom Studios, and it's Something is Killing the Children. That book is awesome. You've got you've got mystery, you've got monsters, you've got murder, and you've got gore, but in, like Ashton said, not in a overt, like too much. Like it's put in all the right places, and it's very exciting. It's very feels like very Buffy the Vampire Slayer to me, and I really like it. It's a very strong female lead. And and a lot of kick-assery, which I'm always up for, and it's very horror vibe. So that is my suggestion.
Thanks. That's a good one. What about you, Ashton?
I have 2. I think the obvious one, because we even mentioned it earlier, is Five Nights at Freddy's. There's a graphic novel collection from Graphics Books called Fazbear Frights, and it builds out on the Five Nights at Freddy's world that is established in the video games. By explaining a lot more of the like quote unquote freak accidents that happen at these different Freddy Fazbear establishments and how it is a much more of a widespread issue than you're led to believe in the video games. The video games really focus on certain characters, and this does a good job of expanding that universe and explaining like how much of an epidemic Freddy Fazbear's really was. And then similarly, because I have to believe this thing was inspired by Five Nights at Freddy's, that's Willy's Wonderland. The movie is goofy as hell. Nick Cage is great in it. And there's a prequel story in the comic books. I think it is 12 issues. Same kind of thing, deadly animatronics, but it's the same kind of mascot horror that goes on with the mascots in Dark Ride. So I think those scratch the same itch.
Nice call.
Ooh,
Nice, good job.
yeah. What about you, Johnny?
Well, Natasha took one of my ideas, which was Something is Killing the Children. So there's that.
Johnny's not bitter.
I went in the route of kind of like creepy mystery, and like sure in terms of like not really sure like what's happening. I'm trying to like figure things out. I like Lock and Key.
Okay.
This is a really fun read. I don't think I've ever finished this book actually, but I do remember like loving this. So I need to go back and watch this. The series is really good, but that got me into this. So Joe Hill, Gabriel Rodriguez from IDW. This is a fun read, and I have to give this one a shout out because this book was actually given to me by, let me see if I can find their logo. It was by the fine folks over at Four Quarters Comics and Games. This is a comic shop up in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, not too far from where I live, about maybe an hour's drive. And I was talking to Art and Holly, the owners there, and really, really great people, like really nice comic shop. I loved it up there. But they let me have a copy of Harrow County, which is a really, really creepy book. The art style is very, very similar to Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. If you're looking at this. Yeah, so it's not Robert Hack who did Sabrina. This is Tyler Crook and Cullen Bunn. It's basically like there's strange supernatural things going on in like a rural town out in the middle of nowhere. So very creepy. I've read this a couple times. It's a really good book. Look for all of this at your friendly local comic shop. And that is the last thing I want to say is please stop by and frequent your friendly local comic shop. It is, important to support mom and pop shops. They are the purveyors of pop culture. They let us know on like all things cool, like what's good to read. If you need a recommendation, go in there and tell them what you like. Say, if I like, Dark Ride, what can you recommend that's in the realm of that? They will recommend like good stuff for you to read that will like suit your taste. So be sure to stop by your friendly local comic shop.
Yes, best words.
And if you don't know where one is, comicshoplocator.com.
So my recommendation would be Trick or Treat, which is already like a fun anthology horror movie, but then there's also the comic aspect of it. And it's also really cool because in the intro, it's like a comic book. It's how it's like introed. It's kind of cool. But there's two books that if you like this kind of like, amusement park thing, Fantastic Land by Mike Bockoven, I believe. And it's like Lord of the Flies inside of an amusement park that has all the employees trapped after a hurricane. And then you have Hide by Kirsten White, and that's kind of like a Hunger Games kind of competition set inside of an amusement park. So those would be mine. So there's lots of stuff for people to read. Go to your local comic book shop, grab those comics. It was so good to talk with you guys.
You too.
I'm so sad it's over.
And we're back.
We are back. A whole new season. I'm excited. It was too much of a too long. So thank you all for joining me. I had so much fun. And this is my reminder to everyone watching to pick up Dark Ride at your friendly local comic shop, and to find a comic shop near you, like Natasha said, simply head on over to comicshoplocator.com. And guests, do you have anything that you'd like to plug before we go?
The next event I will be at besides this weekend for roller derby, I will be playing at the People's Battle of Richmond down in Richmond, Virginia. That's going to be a lot of fun for roller derby, but I will be a guest and hosting the cosplay contest at Ocean City Comic Con December 14th and 15th. I think that's the right dates. In Ocean City, Maryland. And it's a really fun adventure. This year will be the first year after like a decade that it will actually be 2 days. Usually it's only a 1-day Comic Con, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait. I'll have a table there, and you can come say hi and talk to me about comics.
All right. And Ashton?
I have 2 things to plug. The first one is if you enjoyed this and you want more spooky nonsense for the rest of the month, you can come hang out with me at Halloween Comic Fest on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're celebrating the very best in horror comics. We've been doing it all month long. All October is all about horror comics. As Johnny mentioned, we did some staff picks last week and told you guys what some of our favorite horror comics are. So you can find that. You can find all kinds of other reading recommendations, toy recommendations. If you want the Freddy Krueger glove like I do, we got that. And then the other thing is, of course, Free Comic Book Day. That's where you can find me most of the time. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Constantly spewing my nonsense on TikTok. You can find me there. And as just like a teaser, I guess, next month, middle of November, we'll be announcing the lineup of the Free Comic Book Day books for 2025. So you're definitely going to want to see that.
Ooh, awesome. Can't wait I love Free Comic Book Day. It's my favorite.
Me too. It's one of the best holidays of the year.
Yeah, it really is. And Johnny, do you have anything you want to plug?
You can find me like hiding here in my basement creating video content for Free Comic Book Day and Halloween Comic Fest and Previews World. Yeah, we're just excited. Like we're going to be bringing the panel back, so we'll be doing these panel shows once a month. So if you have a comic book selection or a graphic novel suggestion that you'd like us to talk about, please like comment in the comments, or let us know in the comments. Let us know in the comments like what graphic novel you'd like us to discuss, and maybe we can use that as a suggestion for a future episode of the panel. Oh wait, Mia, I think I took your line.
It's okay. I was gonna go with it. I was like, he's got it. All right.
We're just all so excited to see each other.
I know. All right. Well, thanks again, guys. And like Johnny said, if you have a graphic novel that you'd like us to talk about, leave a comment below and your choice could be picked for a future episode. And this is also your reminder to follow us at Previews World and Free Comic Book Day on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And I know I hate to say goodbye, but I have to do it today. And tell you that heroes are a dime a dozen, but comic fans are priceless. And we'll see you next time. Do you have a suggestion for a graphic novel that you'd like to see discussed on the panel? Leave us a comment and your choice could be picked for a future episode.